Let's go wide, real wide.
Hi there, my name is Peter Forsgard and I am a professional photographer from Helsinki, Finland. And before we start talking more about the 8mm lens and we will go back outside, a disclaimer and a few things about wide-angle lenses in general. This lens that I'm testing in this video is not mine. It is a loaner from OMDS that I got, and I will send it back after I've made this video. And like usual, they did not tell me what to do with this video or even ask me to do the video or what to say, or nor do they see that video before or this video beforehand. So everything I say is my own opinion. And then about the wide-angle lenses. There are two types of wide-angle lenses, rectilinear lenses and then fisheye lenses. And the difference is that rectilinear lenses are corrected, so the straight lines are straight, but fisheyes, they don't have straight lines in the corners or in the edges of the frame. That's the main difference. About the millimeters, the Olympus fisheye is an 8mm lens, and it has a wider field of view, which is 180 degrees. And then they have a 7 to 14mm lens, a Pro Zoom lens, which has a 7mm focal length at the widest end, but it has a smaller field of view than the 8mm fisheye. So it's not always the millimeters that decide what the angle of view is, even though usually you can tell if it's a rectilinear lens, then it's of course a no-brainer. It is the smaller the number, the wider the field of view. When we talk about rectilinear lenses, the exception is the fisheye. But let's go back outside and talk some more about the 8mm fisheye lens.
And who is this 8mm fisheye for? OMDS website says that it's for landscape and low light. And yeah, of course, the low light comes from the fastest aperture, which is F1.8, which is, I think it's still one of the fastest fisheyes that there is on the market. And that's a really good feature because combining that with the very efficient IBIS that Olympus cameras have, you can get really long shutter speeds. And then the other one is landscape. And that's why I'm here in this nature reserve that is not far from my place where I live, and it's been many times that I've been here for making videos because it's a pretty cool place, I think, even though I'm not a big nature person, but I still like to come here. And now the weather seems to be always like this when I'm here. I don't know if you remember when I was testing the 140 to 400mm lens, it was even worse. The weather, I mean, not the lens, the weather. And now it's started to snow. It was raining a few minutes ago and now it's snowing. Of course, if we talk about lenses, it's not that a certain lens is just for something that is said on the OMDS website. Of course, you can use every lens for everything. It all depends on what are your preferences for the look of the image. So that's usually the thing that you should know. Okay, now there's a bit of a narrow bridge here. Let's see if I can... If I fall down, this will be an epic video. All right, pretty cool. Yeah. Let's take a look around. You can see the swamp. There is the water over there. And then we have some water here and still some ice. And I don't know if you can see the snow, but it is pretty horrifying weather again when I'm trying to make some images. I think I'll head back to the office and talk some more about the 8mm lens over there. And what I will talk about is, of course, show some more pictures. And then, of course, I will talk about more about the lens and what it is for. But I think I will stay here and grab a few images, and then I will head back to my office and finish the video. I don't know if you can see the heavy snow that's coming. It's wet and not nice at all. Can you imagine it's a Saturday and people should be enjoying the spring on their free time. and then the weather is like this. And one problem with the 8mm is, and it's the same thing with any really wide angle, I mean ultra wide angles, because the what do you call this, the front element gets totally wet in an instant. So I might have to come back tomorrow a bit before I publish this video to do some more photographing. It's not, well, it's possible to do now, of course, but to be honest, it's not fun at all. Oh gosh, this is the best part of Finland. It's a nice country, but I've said before that there are a lot of nice things, but weather isn't one of them. But now I will go to my office. See you in a minute. Oh gosh. Oh.
In real life, of course, any lens can be used for any genre, even though some lenses are better for others. When we talk about the classical way of making images, that's why a wide-angle lens is usually considered for landscapes, and then let's say like 45mm is for portraits. Now we're talking about micro four thirds, and then a longer lens for birds, for example. But why not use the 8mm for portraits? I will show some more images later in this video. Have you ever used a fisheye lens, either the 8mm F1.8 Pro lens that I'm reviewing now, or the 9mm body cap lens? Have you ever used any of those lenses or either of these lenses? Please let me know in the comments down below. Fisheye is not for everyone. That's why there is a correction feature in EM5 Mark III, EM1 Mark II, EM1 Mark III, and EM1X. When turning it on, it will correct the image so that you will get a rectilinear image from your fisheye lens. And here you can see the difference. The camera does a pretty good job. The edges aren't tack sharp, but sharp enough for most uses, so there is no problem with that. And this makes the 8mm also a really wide angle rectilinear lens if you use the lens correction feature that these cameras that I mentioned have. But there is one downside on this. The corrected image from camera is a JPEG. It will record both the RAW file and the JPEG image, but of course the RAW file will have the fisheye effect, and the corrected images, it looks more like a rectilinear image. But there is a workaround for this. You can also correct the image in Olympus Workspace. Just choose the fisheye correction from the menu or from the tools on the right side. The image will be corrected. But there's one thing I have to say about the correction in Olympus Workspace. It's not identical with the correction that comes from camera. Here you can see the small difference. Does that matter? Most likely not. It is a bit different image, but both are really good. And the funny thing is that when you're doing it with Olympus Workspace, the image that you see on your screen, at least when I see it on my screen, looks really crappy looking. But when you export it, look at the exported image. It's totally fine. So don't be worried that you will lose a lot of quality. It's not that bad as it looks in Olympus Workspace. The final image will be okay. And then also Olympus Workspace is very good software for fisheye correction. If your Olympus camera does not have the fisheye correction feature in camera, you can also correct images from EM10 Mark II, and here is an example of that. Works perfectly well, and that's why I think Olympus Workspace is a software that every Olympus user should get. It's a free software, and the only thing you need is your camera's serial number when you're downloading it. It's a recommended software. It is a good editing software in some things, but of course, if you are doing more and more heavy editing, then you might want to use something else. But Olympus Workspace is good in some things. How does the image compare when it's taken with 7 to 14mm 2.8 Pro? If we do the corrected images from the fisheye, the 8mm lens, and compare it to the 7mm image, or the image that when taken with the focal length of 7mm with the 7 to 14mm lens, we can here see that the 8mm corrected images has a wider field of view than the 7 to 14mm at 7mm. So it is wider. But there is one downside on this 8mm correction. The edges aren't as sharp as it is with the 7mm. There is a downside, but if you really need an ultra wide angle lens, then the 8mm f1.8 with the fisheye correction could be an option.
it's really hard to find something to photograph. You need to have something in the foreground and you know, real close, and then you might get an image. Yeah, I think that's an image, but it is really hard to find something to photograph with the fisheye, which is such a wide angle of view. Like I said, it's 180 degrees, which is you can see everything actually. And the problem with that is that you need to have something interesting in the foreground. Otherwise, the image is totally not cool. It doesn't look any good. Like this place where I'm now, there's lots of things to photograph, but this is a wrong lens for this. I need to come back here with a longer lens and see what this place looks like with the longer lens. I think it's a good time of the year right now because the leaves are not in the trees yet, and you can see kind of this a bit gloomy forest with some really old trees and some, what do you call the moss? Is that moss? The green stuff that's growing on rocks and old trees and everything. So, but practice, and that's why I'm here. I'm trying to do things that I haven't done before, like doing landscape with a fisheye. Not succeeding that much, but I will get it eventually. But I will continue making my images. This is an interesting looking place. Look at all the trees. I think are these pine trees? Not really sure, but you know, the white trees, and these are very common here in Finland. This is going to be a beautiful place when the leaves start to come. I need to come back here. This is a pretty new thing that they've done here for kids. You're not supposed to walk, you know, around here. There's a path which we're supposed to walk, but here we can, just on this special place. And let's see what we can find. Here, there is some things that kids have been building. Not really an image there. These trees are interesting, but I already have a few of these and I can't really come up with anything. This is some place where I will come back when the spring goes. But here is something really interesting. There is a part of a car or a trailer or whatever that is, and it's not supposed to be here, but I wonder how this got here in the first place. But I need to take an image of that. I wonder if this direction is good. Maybe I'll go really close to get this in the foreground here. I think it's a kind of brakes and the wheel, or the way where you put the wheels. Yeah, I think that's an image, not something that I came here for. That's what I like, something extraordinary, or total, it's not extraordinary, something that doesn't belong here. And you wonder, asking questions, how this ever got here, because it's under the tree. So it's been here for a while. But yeah, this is an interesting thing. But I think I have enough stuff for the video, and I will go to my office and finish this. See you at the office.
And next we will look at some images. And there's one cool feature, or it's not actually a feature, but, well, you can call it a feature. The closest focusing distance is only 12 centimeters. And here you can see an image that was taken pretty close. I think it came out really nice. As you can see, it is quite good for close-ups too. And if you're interested in a fisheye lens, now is a good time to consider getting one, because there's a cashback going on with OMDS. I will put a link in the description to this video, and it is valid till April 15th. So if you're watching it after that, then sorry to say that the deal was gone. But anyway, it's a good and fun lens to consider if you're in a market for a really wide angle lens. I personally do not use the 8mm that much. I've considered getting it a few times, but haven't really decided because I don't really need it. I've had a chance to loan it from Olympus a few times when I have really needed it. For example, for this real estate shoot that I did a couple of years ago. There is a video about that over there if you want to watch it, where I used the 8mm. That's some more information about the lens and how to use it in real life. But all in all, I think it was a fun few days to test this lens. Here is the video about the 8mm lens and also the video about real estate photography that I used it for. But hey, thanks for watching and bye for now.